up, y'all? It's your girl Roxy with Roxy Says, and we're gonna talk about it. So today we are discussing the Love is Blind Season 6 reunion. A lot happened, so let's get right into it. But before we do, please don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that you hit that notification bell so that you are made aware every time I post a new video. We are at 23,000 subscribers right now. Thank you all so much. All right, so let's go. So for this season, they filmed the Love is Blind reunion at the actual Love is Blind studio. And it really looks like they upped the budget for this reunion. They had a live audience, all of that. It was really cute. I love the space. And then in addition to the season 6 cast, we also have some previous couples that came out. I was very shocked to see that Matthew and Colleen are still together. If you know, you know. And we learned that they finally moved in together as well. So at the beginning of the episode, you had Nick and Vanessa. They were pretending to be in the pods. We had some other couples in the pods. We saw Tiffany and Brett. I really like the introduction for this reunion. So we start off with an update with Johnny and Amy. We see that they're still madly in love. We also learn that their families are still super close. Their dads speak to each other really often. They've traveled together. They spent the holidays together. They've been to France together. And in my finale review, I said you can already tell that those two families are going to be extremely close. So I'm happy to see that that bond is still going strong. And later in the episode, we also learned that they haven't even had a fight or an argument yet. Yes, they have small disagreements, but that's about it. So we learned that throughout the past seasons, Love is Blind US has given us 11 marriages and 9 of those couples are still married. I can't remember the second couple who divorced, but I know that Jarrett and Ayana divorced. But I think that 9 out of 11, that's pretty good. They do give us a little flashback and a look at the past couples. And throughout this episode, they also give us some updates on those couples. And it was really cute to see. But in my honest opinion, I was like, okay, they've already had their season. They've already had their reunion. This is about season 6. So let's talk about season 6 because a whole lot happened on and off the show. That's what I want to see. So next we get into it with Jeremy, who looks very nervous, but he's clearly trying to act like he isn't, okay? He says that he's dating someone and they're like, well, let's bring her out. And the curtains open and child, Sarah Ann walks out. Only like 2 people in the audience are clapping, and rightfully so. Sarah Ann and Jeremy share a little kiss, and she lets us know that the two of them have been dating ever since for about a year, and now they live together. Let me tell you, Sarah Ann looks so happy as she's saying all of this, and Jeremy looks shook. Jeremy looks very uncomfortable while Sarah Ann is just gushing and gushing, okay? And right there is where Vanessa lets us know that Laura has shared her location with us. She is currently in Barcelona for work, but she is on Zoom and she is ready to talk. And while everyone is clapping, we see that Jeremy and Sarah made the decision to not clap for Laura. Here's the thing. What are y'all upset about? You two, what are y'all upset about? What are y'all upset about? Y'all jet skied off into the sunset together. Y'all should be so filled with love after dating for what, a year or so, that clapping for Laura, it shouldn't even be a thought. It shouldn't even be a thing. What are y'all upset about? So we see Nick and he presses Jeremy about being engaged while applying to the show because if you don't know, Jeremy's ex-fiance's mama let it be known that Jeremy was actually engaged when he applied for this show. Jeremy denies it and he says that he was already out of the relationship. The engagement was already off when he got involved with this show. And he says that everyone in the pods who he dated were also made aware that he was previously and recently engaged. And both Laura and Sarah actually confirmed that he did let them know that. So when they said that, I was like, okay, so it's really not tea. Production just hit it from you and I, right? Now the timeline might be a little bit shaky, but it definitely doesn't seem as salacious as it was when it was presented to us because everyone else already knew. So it's like, all right. Then Vanessa asked a juicy question. She asked Jeremy, why did he lie after sending Laura his location? And let me say this, Nick and Vanessa, y'all did y'all thing. I didn't say it in the beginning. I forgot. Y'all did y'all thing with this reunion. Clearly, y'all have been looking at other people's reviews. Clearly, y'all have been reading the blogs, reading the comments. Y'all did y'all thing. Good for y'all. But anyways, after Vanessa asks Jeremy why he lied after sending his location to Laura, he goes into this whole spiel about nothing happening between him and Sarah Ann that night. We just talked, blah, 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 blah. But then Vanessa has to bring him back to the actual question, okay? Because she didn't ask you about what happened with Sarah Ann. She asked you, why did you lie to Laura, okay? So when she brings him back to the actual question that was asked, Jeremy says that he didn't intentionally lie about it, okay? Laura says that she knows if she never woke up and saw his location, he would have went on with that lie. And that's obvious because we all witnessed the conversation. And Laura also says that Sarah Ann was also telling multiple people the same story. So clearly Jeremy and Sarah Ann planned this entire cover up and they made sure that their stories matched, which makes them look even more guilty of doing something that night. But that's their story and they're sticking to it. Next, we see Jeremy and Laura. They go back and forth about the chain of events and about when he came home, when he decided to tell her, if he slept upstairs, if he slept on the couch, whatever. Laura tells Jeremy that he's just a straight up clown, okay? And when she says that, Sarah Ann jumps in for her man, and then Jess jumps in for Laura. Child, a mess, okay? And after Sarah Ann and Jess go back and forth and Sarah Ann goes back and forth with Laura, did you see Sarah Ann? She looked like she was ready to fight. Like if Laura wasn't in Barcelona and Laura was on that stage, it looked like something would have popped off the way Sarah was huffing and puffing, okay? So next we see the host ask everyone their opinions on what they actually thought happened that night. The guys were like, look, I'm out of it. I don't even want to give my opinion. We don't got nothing to do with that, okay? They did not want to be involved at all. Chelsea says that she's never stayed up till 5 a.m. just chatting with anybody. Okay, Chelsea, I see you. Sarah says that everyone knows that she can talk and she's a talker. She says that they didn't even kiss. They didn't do anything. Okay, girl, whatever. And Laura actually lets us know that the night that all of this went down is the night of the day that Jeremy met her entire family. So he met her entire family that morning, and by the nighttime, he was out with Sarah Ann and didn't come back till the next day at 5 a.m. Crazy. So next they show us some unseen footage between Sarah Ann and Laura that day at the lake. And it seems like Sarah is somewhat apologizing to Laura and giving her the reasons why she messaged Jeremy. She said that she had more to say. She had things that she needed to get off her chest. Pretty much the same thing that she told AD when AD grilled her at the barbecue, okay? And Laura tells Sarah Ann that Jeremy is a clown, that she needs to be careful with him. And Laura also lets Sarah Ann know that Jeremy was trash talking her. Laura says the stuff that Jeremy was saying about you, I would be careful, okay? Because it seems like all Jeremy cares about is his image. And apparently it was very important to Jeremy that he looked better than Jimmy. I said, oh, really? And clearly that was a thing because Jimmy actually commented and he said that one night he actually heard Jeremy stated, now he can go to bed knowing that Jimmy is the villain and not him. Clearly this really bothered Jimmy because he was pissed on that stage. Jeremy claims that he doesn't remember. He doesn't recall. What do you recall, Jeremy? What do you recall, Jeremy? You don't recall nothing. You don't recall your location. You don't recall what you and Sarah Ann did that night. And now you don't recall what you said about Jimmy. What do you recall, sir? But child, did you see Jimmy? He was so pissed. It looked like he had tears in his eyes. Like, the emotions were running super high. Next, we learned that a lot of the ladies don't really mess with Sarah Ann. They don't really like her. And Chelsea interjects and she's like, yeah, because on Lake Day, you unfollowed all of the ladies, but you kept following our men. Apparently, Jess is the one who removed Sarah Ann from the group chat, and then the two of them got into it. And Jess says, look, she understands how feelings can flow with a process like this, but both Jeremy and Sarah Ann could have handled the situation better. And I agree, I said the same thing in a previous review. Then they asked the cast if any one of them has seen Jeremy since the show wrapped up filming. Chelsea spilled some tea and she's like, yeah, I seen him. And every time I seen him, he tells me that him and Sarah Ann are broken up. Damn, Chelsea. And did y'all see Sarah Ann's face? Because that looked like news to her. Sarah Ann looked like we've been broken up. When was this? That looked like that's the first time that Sarah Ann ever heard of a breakup between her and Jeremy, okay? But then Jeremy tries to cover up and he tries to downplay it. And he says that they've had their ups and downs, but they fought through everything. And they've decided that the best thing for them to do was to move in together. So yeah, good for them. Next, they asked about a couple of those videos that Sarah Ann posted that were on TikTok, but everyone realized that that video showed her in Jeremy's apartment. And Nick says that kind of gave away the ending of the show because it showed that her and Jeremy were still together in some capacity. They also asked her about posting on TikTok and saying that this is just a reality show. This is just entertainment. And listen, clearly Nick and Vanessa felt a way about that because they wanted to make it crystal clear that the intentions of this show are not solely for entertainment and they want true love stories as well. I definitely understand Nick and Vanessa taking the time with this conversation, and we're going to see them do it with Trevor as well, because this is their brand. Like, they're producers of this show, okay? And they don't want it to get to the point where it's so much of a spectacle where the viewers, us, start to lose interest. Because it's like, what's the point of watching this show? This shit ain't real. This shit is all fake. Even though we know these shows are heavily produced and edited, they still need the viewers to have some sense of buy-in, some sense of belief that there is true love coming from this show. Because if they lose the viewers, then they lose money, okay? But you know, Sarah Ann says what she needs to say to cover it up. Oh, that's not really how I feel. My intentions were pure. You know, what else is she gonna say? What else is she gonna say? Next, we see Laura say that she's still upset about what Sarah Ann did because she still feels like she has not gotten a genuine apology from the both of them. She said that this was her real life that they messed with. She said her 96-year-old granny's ticket was already booked for the wedding and they want to play these games. But all is well because she says that she has moved on and she is dating. So good for her. And in this scene, Nick and Vanessa were about to send Laura on her way, but she's like, hold up, wait. I do want to speak about
bean dip.
And I find it really interesting that she had to bring that up. So Nick and y'all weren't gonna talk about that? No? Oh, no? Okay. So I am happy that Laura brought it up. And she says that she has apologized to AD profusely on and off camera, okay? She said that she meant no harm and she is truly sorry for what she did. I do feel like she read the room and she's seen the comments and the videos, etc. And maybe she truly is sorry and she really learned something that night. Maybe she had no idea, or maybe she's just saving face because she got dragged. I don't know. All we can do is hope that she learned her lesson. Don't do that again. Don't do that again, okay? But it's up to AD to accept her apology. And I don't know if it was edited out, but we didn't see AD respond to Laura at all. And her facial expression was kind of like, so I still don't know how AD feels about Laura. But Jeremy also apologized and he said that he shouldn't have brought it up at all, okay? So child, next we see Trevor come out. And all I could think was, did they trick Trevor and tell him that he was coming to a job interview? Did the people at Netflix and Kinetic tell Trevor that they had a job for him? And then last minute when he got to the studio, y'all was like, surprise, it's the reunion. Is that what happened? Is that the only way that y'all were able to get him to come? Because what is this outfit? This is not a reunion outfit. Trevor was dressed for a different occasion. Trevor was dressed for a different occasion, okay? But anyways, they discussed the text messages that came out, which revealed that Trevor had a girlfriend throughout this entire process, and they actually pulled the text messages up.
I'm excited for it, but more excited to get back to you after and start our life together.
She responded with, did you land?
Trevor responded, just did. Trevor then says, can I call you in 30 minutes?
She said, I missed you so much.
Trevor wrote, I love you more than anything in this world, and I'm going to marry you. Trevor says, I hope you know how much I love you, and had to pretend that this wasn't real life to say anything I said.
So after they read out the text messages, they asked Trevor, what happened? And Trevor gives a very thought out and heartfelt explanation.
I had a whole thing planned to say. I don't know. Yeah.
Did y'all hear that man say, I wasn't dating her? No, like, I never asked her to be my girlfriend. And I'm like, exactly. You were just sleeping with her, telling her that you love her more than anything in this world and that you were going to marry her. Where would she get a crazy idea that she's your girlfriend? Women, so emotional, always jumping to conclusions. The fact that he even started off with that, I was like, okay, get him off the stage. Get him off the stage because he's about to try to play in all of our faces and I don't got time. I don't got time, okay? But he claims that his girlfriend knew and they planned it together because he wanted to experiment and go for someone who he normally wouldn't go for in real life. But that makes no sense, sir, because you were also telling her that after this experience, you were gonna marry her. Nick and Vanessa go in on Trevor and they let him know just how unfair what he did was to both Chelsea and that other woman. Chelsea claims that she had this intuition of why she shouldn't have picked Trevor. She said that in the moment she couldn't explain it, but now she can. Chelsea, girl, no. Okay, it's really convenient now that we find out that Trevor was a F-boy and all of that. Now you could say, oh, my intuition. I don't think it had anything to do with that. I think that she was still gonna pick Jimmy anyway because that means that she beat Jess. Trevor claims that after his breakup with Chelsea, he was a wreck and he was crying. And then he pulls Johnny into it and he's like, you know, everyone believes Johnny, everyone trusts Johnny. Wasn't I crying? Wasn't I a mess? And Johnny does corroborate, but don't drag Johnny into your mess, sir. And then Amy chimes in and she asks Trevor if he was upset about losing Chelsea or if he was just upset because now he had to leave the show. Then Vanessa asks Trevor if he was just here to further his career. And Trevor says, what career? And Vanessa's like, right, I don't know. And after that, Trevor says, you know, can I just leave? Because y'all told me this was a job interview and clearly it's not. And I still have time to make it down the street to another job interview. If y'all don't have a job for me, can I just go? No, he didn't say all that, but he did ask if he can leave, okay? So clearly he's ready to go, but they just keep asking him questions. They just keep asking him questions. And he tells Chelsea that he was 100% himself in the pods. Everything that he said to her, he meant it. And he says that Chelsea is the only person on this stage that he owes an explanation to. And if she wants one, he will more than happily give that to her, okay? And right before Nick dismisses him, he makes sure to drag Trevor just one more time for the road. Just one more time, Nick got in Trevor's ass for what he did on this show.
We do not want people to come here motivated by fame. That's not what this is about. It's not fair to the audience. And most importantly, it's not fair to the people right here. It's just wrong. We've got to call you out for it. So, Trevor, I know you asked to leave. You can leave now, man.
Oh my God.
So next we get to AD and Clay, and Vanessa calls them the couple we have all been rooting for. And I'm like, who said that? Maybe individually we've rooted for them, but as a couple, no, ma'am. So we find out that AD and Clay did not speak for a couple of weeks after the wedding, but Clay eventually did reach out to AD and they discuss how it was going through such an emotional experience and then having to watch it back. And I can only imagine, especially for AD, seeing herself being left at the altar, knowing how embarrassing that was, going on social media. And even with Clay, right, with people talking about him or his family, his daddy, I can only imagine how heavy of an experience that was for the both of them. Clay says that he apologized to AD, to her family, her nieces, her mom for wasting her time. He also says that he battles with his morality and he doesn't know if he is the good guy that he wants to be. And he also has a big issue of getting out of his own way. And his voice actually gets a little bit shaky when he starts speaking about his love for AD. Clay says that AD is the love of his life and he made a huge mistake. AD is clearly still emotional and she says that she's at the point where she can't really do much with that information. Nick and Vanessa ask them about the possibility of them dating again and AD dodges the question, but Clay says that he would 1,000% date her again. And in my head, to me, what that means is he will date her again for play, for company, for sex, for her free therapy, but not for marriage. And I don't think it makes a difference if it was AD. I don't think it makes a difference if it was someone else. I think that he's afraid of marriage, period. It wouldn't even matter who you put in front of him, honestly. It could be his dream girl. He would still find a reason to back out. That's just what I think from what I've seen. Obviously, we don't know these people. That's just my opinion, okay? And especially because right after that, AD tells Clay that he had more than enough chances to make things right and for them to be together. Kind of sounds like the same thing that Clay's mom told his dad, like, you had a chance. I was there. I was ready and willing to be with you, to be your everything, to give you everything. And you messed it up. And like AD said, Clay knew that he did not want to be married when he came on this show. Clay knew that he had an issue before he got here. And it's great that he's grown from this experience and that he's learned so much and that he's in therapy now. That's all good and well. And I love that for him. But he still wasted people's time by coming on this show where the goal of the show was to be married. There were other shows that he could have went on where marriage was not the end goal, where he probably would have had a similar experience and learned so much about himself just the same way. But on the other end, AD, you also allowed Clay to waste your time because he told you in oh so many ways that he was not ready. The same way that Clay had plenty of opportunities to tell AD, hey, I love you, but I'm not ready for marriage. Let's just end this here. I don't want to take this all the way to the altar and embarrass you, is the same way that AD had plenty of opportunities to hear everything Clay was saying loud and clear and say, okay, you know what? You're not ready for this. I'm gonna see myself out, okay? They both had ample opportunities to end this relationship before it got to the altar. And apparently after that, they spent even more time together. I'm sure many of you have seen that clip circulating of them. I don't even know when the time frame was. If I remember it, I'll put it in here. But they clearly spent time together and dated after Clay told her no at the altar. But Clay does say that after a whole year, he feels more ready to be with AD now, and therapy has helped him a lot. But the way that he spoke about therapy, it sounds like he's done with therapy, because he's speaking about therapy in a past tense. So it kind of sounds like he did it and he's done. I don't know, but that's just what it sounds like. And in my opinion, healing is an ongoing process. Every day, you and I, we're all learning. We're growing. We've all made mistakes and decisions that we aren't so proud of. I feel like that healing process would take a bit more time than just 1 year. And like I said before, I hope that him and his parents are able to have some type of family counseling, because I do believe that that would be extremely helpful for all three of them. And this moment was kind of strange to me. AD was trying to comfort Clay and telling him that he's a really good guy, and he kind of pulled his hand away. Did y'all see that? I felt like she was trying to hold his hand and he kind of pulled it away. It was just something that I noticed, and I found it kind of strange. Again, it's great that Clay is being vulnerable and that he's self-reflecting, but we can also recognize that Clay had no business coming on this show. In this scene, AD also said that she doesn't want to be Clay's mom. And I think that this could have been taken in a couple of ways. I feel like AD meant that she didn't want to be married to a cheater, right? And I also feel like it can be AD saying that she doesn't want to actually have to mother and teach Clay how to be a good husband. Either way, it seems like at this point, finally, AD has come to her senses and she is over Clay. Next, we see them ask Clay if his father ever apologized to him. And he said not in those exact words, but he is satisfied with the response that he's gotten from his dad. And his dad is a great dad. And I think that a lot of children are used to their parents not apologizing to them. And I feel like sometimes it's hard for parents to watch their children grow up and recognize that they too deserve respect. And if you do something wrong to them, you should apologize. Talk to your children. Apologize to your children for what you've done and for how it's affected them. Hopefully, Clay does get that apology from his dad one day, that verbatim, "Son, I am sorry for what I did," because I feel like that would mean a lot to him. Then we see Clay, he gave Brett a really dope shout out for being such an amazing example of what a husband should be. And Clay says that seeing how Brett moved and what a great guy he was actually made him doubt himself a little bit as far as to if he was actually ready to be a husband. Brett is deeply humbled by this, and he also says that he didn't have the best example of a husband growing up. And through this process, he also had his own share of doubts, but he says that Tiffany provided such a safe space for him to be the man and the husband that he always knew that he could be. This was a really beautiful moment between Clay and Brett. You can tell that Clay really admires Brett. Maybe Clay just needs to surround himself with different types of men. Maybe he just needs to hang out with more Bretts as opposed to other Clays. Okay, maybe that will help him out. So next we have a segment where fans ask the cast questions. We find out that Jessica's daughter has not watched the season in its entirety, but she has met all of the ladies, and she says that she actually likes that her daughter did get to see some scenes of her crying because it's made her appear more human to her daughter, because usually she's always tried to put on a strong face for her daughter, and her daughter has never really seen her cry. Next, we see them ask Amy and Johnny about condoms. The question that everyone has been asking, like, you can't just wear a condom, sir? Johnny says yes, he's aware of what condoms are. I'm like, could have fooled us, okay? But he also admits that as a man, birth control was never really something that he had to think of, but he is glad that he has gained this new knowledge throughout these conversations. And we learned that Amy has not gone on birth control, good for her, and Johnny has not gotten a vasectomy, good for him, but clearly they figured it out. And I'm like, thank God, because I don't think it should have been that hard in the first place. But I'm happy that they've come to a solution that works for the both of them. Next, they asked Chelsea how she felt about the conversation where Jess and Laura were pretty much plotting on Jess talking to Jimmy. The same thing that Laura was upset with Sarah Ann for. Hello? Chelsea says that she was hurt, but now her and Jess are besties. Jess says that she was out of line and that it was definitely not one of her best moments. Chelsea is clearly still bothered, even though she says that Jess is her bestie. Chelsea is the type, and we've said this before, Chelsea would pretend that she's the cool girl. She'll pretend that she's okay with this. Oh, that's your friend and you slept with her? That's fine. Oh, Jess said this. That's fine. Until she gets really upset and it blows over. That's how Chelsea operates. Because in this scene, she looked like she was about to burst into tears. Also, shout out to one of my subbies. They sent me this picture of Chelsea and Jimmy just a few days ago. And this picture was after the reunion. So clearly Chelsea and Jimmy, they're still at least very good friends if they're not giving dating another shot. But shout out to y'all, and I'm gonna put y'all info on the screen. Thank you. Next, they asked Jimmy how he felt about Chelsea exposing on camera that he slept with his friend. And clearly he is still upset about it. The friend who was exposed is still mad at him for even telling Chelsea. And I'm like, wait, hold up, girl. So you just wanted to be running around smiling in Chelsea's face, knowing that you slept with her man Jimmy and her have no idea about it? So I'm giving friend the side eye too, okay? I think that it's good that Jimmy told Chelsea. I also think that if Chelsea had an issue with it, she should have made it clear from the jump. I also feel like Chelsea shouldn't have said it on camera. However, if you go back and watch that scene, during that argument, Jimmy said, I never messed with any of those girls. And that's why Chelsea called him out and was like, yes, you did. You told me. And in that sense, I can understand why Chelsea felt like she had to call him out on it, because Jimmy is on camera lying and making Chelsea look like she's completely irrational and crazy for having concerns about him hanging out with his friend when he knows that he slept with one of his friends. You get what I'm saying? So in that sense, I can understand why Chelsea was like, you slept with her. Like, that's why I'm acting like this. But at the same time, because with this couple, it's like you just going back and forth. You're going back and forth. Chelsea was drunk and just creating scenarios and making up stuff to see what Jimmy would say. She was fishing. And I wish that they did zoom Mackenzie in so that she could confirm if she did in fact call Chelsea and tell Chelsea that she saw Jimmy at the bar with Jess. I would have loved to hear Mackenzie respond to that. Either way, a mess all the way around, but Chelsea does apologize. She says that she forgot that the cameras were even there. It just blew up. It just came up out of her. And she is so sorry for ruining the trust in their relationship, causing a rift between Jimmy and his homegirl. And Jimmy does say that that fight was a defining moment and he felt like he should have broken up with her that night, but instead he dragged it on. Even that night, we were really proud of Jimmy for breaking up with Chelsea, but then the next day he turned around and they got back together. So yeah, Jimmy knew that night that he should have broken up with her. Next, they bring up the conversation between Jimmy and Jess at the beach. Jimmy and Jess say that during their conversation, it was more of a friend vibe and it wasn't that same chemistry that they felt while they were in the pods. Jimmy does say that he was eager to see Jess's picture and he admits that she is gorgeous. Chelsea didn't seem to like that too much, but he says that he did follow and then unfollow her for somewhat of an acknowledgement to let her know that he saw her profile. And then he blocked her so that she couldn't see him because her page was also private. They asked Jess how she feels about Jimmy, and she says that she thought they were cool, but apparently they're not, because she feels like in a couple of interviews that she saw, Jimmy took the first opportunity to throw her under the bus, and she also claims that Jimmy lied on her and says that she got a good edit on the show. Jimmy says that he didn't like Jessica's tone throughout the show when he was speaking to her, especially in their last conversation. So Jimmy and Jess go back and forth on who should have said I love you first, and then they had a discrepancy with the timeline of their last conversation. Jimmy claims that Jess stormed out of the pods just 10 minutes into their date. Jess claims that they were speaking for over an hour, and then Jimmy's like, okay, I'll give you 45 minutes, but it felt like 10 minutes. Sir, that's a big jump. But I love that Jess kept her foot on Jimmy's neck. She was not letting him out of this. And Jess says, roll the tape. Roll the tape. And we see that after a whole hour and 23 minutes of conversation, both Jess and Jimmy agree to take a break. They come back 8 minutes later to continue their conversation, which lasts for another 50 minutes. And when the conversation ends, we see Jess saying that she does not want to feel like she's pressuring Jimmy. She feels like she's actually having to convince him to be with her, and she does not want to do that. This conversation lasted a total of 2 hours and 13 minutes. Where the hell do you get 10 minutes from that, Jimmy? You see how the guys on this show will sit in your face and straight up lie to you unless you pull the receipts? Jeremy, Jimmy, Trevor, Kenneth, straight up lie. Like, that's not what happened. I didn't do that. And then you pull the receipts and they're like, oh, Maybe I did do that. Like, what? Anyways, next we get to Chelsea and this whole Megan Fox thing, okay? To me, it's not a matter of whether or not she looks like Megan Fox. To me, that's not even the issue. I just feel like in a competition like this, she shouldn't have mentioned it at all. Even if she was the spitting image of Megan Fox, she shouldn't have even brought it up. And like I previously said, I feel like the Jimmy and Chelsea reveal would have went a million times better had she never put the image of Megan Fox in Jimmy's head. When they met, it kind of started the relationship off on a bad note. And even though Chelsea did say that she only had 2 attributes that were similar to Megan Fox, I still think that she shouldn't have said it at all. But I think that she knows what she was doing. She wanted to get picked over Jess, so she said what she had to say. And she tries to make it seem like she was innocent. Oh, it was just this little thing that I said. Hello, you spoke about your looks in a competition where no one can see you. That is like the biggest thing of this competition. So it wasn't just, oh, I just said a little thing, girl. No. You knew what you were doing, Chelsea. Come on. And then the fact that she tried to act like she couldn't remember her name. If you hear it so much, if so many people tell you that you look like this person, you telling me you couldn't remember the actual person's name, but you could remember their husband's name? Don't nobody come up to you and say, oh, you look like Machine Gun Kelly's wife. No. But I will say I do admire how Chelsea has been handling this whole thing. She has been getting dragged, but she said that she is taking it in stride and she's smiling through everything. So just a word to future contestants, do not say you look like anyone. Even if you do, even if people tell you that you look like this person, just don't say it. Let us say it. You don't say it. So next we see a clip of Zach and Bliss, one of my favorite couples from the show. Congratulations to them again. We see Bliss's mom. If you saw my previous reviews, you already know how I feel about Mama Bliss. She is the sweet. Oh, she's so sweet. We also see Alexa and Brennan. They're also expecting, so congratulations to them. Next, we get to Brittany and Kenneth, and Brittany was like, well, finally, I've been waiting to talk, okay? Brittany was excited to state her piece. So apparently, people were suggesting that they sleep together so that they can feel that spark. But Brittany feels that the intimacy should only be an addition to a spark already being there, to the feelings that have already existed. And I agree. How are people suggesting for them to sleep together and they don't even have the urge to? And I know that they agreed not to sleep together until marriage, but it should have been very hard not to do, okay? The tension should have been high. Things should have been flowing. Things should have been, you know what I'm talking about. The crave should have been so strong, so unbearable, where it was damn near impossible for them to stay off of each other. That's how it should be, okay? But they didn't even have that. So sleep together for what? That would have been an absolute waste. Then they get to Kenneth and this phone, and he says that he's a very involved principal, and he was on his phone so much because he was just reconnecting with his kids, with the staff, and he says that he does admit that he needs to find a balance between work and love. And I hear him, but Kenneth, we all got jobs, baby. You ain't the only one with a job. We all have deadlines. We all have emails that we're responding to. All of that. We still make time for who and what is important in our lives. And I'm sorry, but I just cannot believe that you were that busy to where you couldn't put the phone down for 15 minutes and help her unpack. I think that Kenneth used his phone as an escape because he knew he wasn't feeling Brittany, but he also knew that he couldn't just sit there and not speak to her. So he had to use his phone in order to look busy as a way to kind of tune her out, ignore her, block her out. That's the way that it appeared. Because even during the breakup, for the 3 seconds that your phone was actually down and you were speaking to Brittany, you were still very cold and mean towards her, even when you weren't on the phone. Kenneth said that the emotion was there, but he says that everyone processes grief differently. Everyone shows their emotions differently. But he says that he did call Clay after the breakup, and Clay can vouch that he was in shambles. He was in tears, telling Clay what happened to him. Ain't nothing happened to you. You did something to Brittany, but okay, if that's how he remembers it. And then I also heard that Brittany and Kenneth had already broken up at this point, and production just made them reenact this scene so that they can film it. So that would also explain a lot as to why Kenneth seemed to be completely over it, if that is true. But apparently all is well between the two of them now. It looks like they are besties, okay? They besties. They talk every day. They give each other advice. They seem thick as thieves, okay? They did kind of allow him to skate on by with this whole phone thing, and I think that it also helped him that him and Brittany are on good terms. So it made everything seem all happy-go-lucky and like everything else was water under the bridge. I would have liked to hear Kenneth tell us the moment where he realized he was no longer into Brittany. Was it when he first saw her? Was it because she wasn't blonde? Because he did say he was expecting a blonde. I would have liked them to get into that. I would have also liked to hear how him and Brittany felt about the questions that AD asked him in the Bahamas. That would have definitely been interesting to see as well. But you can tell that for the reunion, they kind of wanted to keep it as light as possible without touching on the heavy hitting stuff like sexuality, race, SA with the whole bean dip situation. But in regards to Brittany and Kenneth, I'm happy that they've overcame everything and it seems like they have a really great and strong friendship and I love that for them. Next, we learned that although Matthew was invited to the reunion, he politely declined his invitation. I'm sorry, reunions should be mandatory. There's no way that you should be able to get on a show and run around and cause havoc and then come the reunion time, you get to just not show up. No. Reunions should be mandatory. But whatever, they show us a clip of Matthew speaking to both AD and Amber, and he did have similar dad conversations with both women, and he did discuss leaving with both women. Now, as weird as Matthew is, in a process like this, you are going to have similar conversations with multiple people. That is inevitable. So in my opinion, the bigger issue is that Matthew made it seem like he was actually leaving here with both of those women. Then we learned that AD actually went on a couple more dates with Matthew. She said that the first date was because he wanted to apologize to her. And when she met him, she was like, oh, Matthew's kind of fine. AD girl. AD. But she said they went on a second date. He made her dinner, some rice and chicken. It wasn't the best, but he gets an A for effort, okay? But she said that eventually it did fizzle out because they realized that they had different views, different ideas, and they both wanted different things in life. So next they show us some of the old couples. We see Kwame and Chelsea reveals that she is on the casting team for Love is Blind. I'm like, girl, do y'all need help? Call me because I'm going to ask the right questions, okay? I will double and triple check those Scantron sheets for those psych evaluations and those background checks. I'm going to do it. Let me know if y'all need help, okay? But congratulations to Kwame and Chelsea. Still together. They've been traveling, all that good stuff, and they look like they're enjoying being married. Next, we learned that Micah, Jess, and Izzy will be on the next season of Perfect Match. No surprise there. I wonder if that's hard for Jess leaving her daughter again to go on another reality show. And we also learned that now Jess and Micah are besties. They seem to have a very, very close relationship, which is interesting. But I always love when on these shows, people make lifelong friends. So good for them. We also learned that Izzy has fixed his credit. So good for him. Side note, I actually saw an article that said that they were looking for AD to be the next Bachelorette. That would be crazy. But that's the reunion, y'all. I really enjoyed this reunion. I think that Nick and Vanessa did what had to be done. They asked a lot of those tough questions, and I appreciate that. A couple of people did ask me to do a reaction to my cast reveal video. I think that'll be really fun because I made a lot of predictions in my cast reveal video. Some red flags I caught, but some, child, I know that I was completely off. So it'll be really fun to go back and watch that video after seeing the whole season and how these people acted up. Yeah, so look out for that video. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you all so much for rocking with me this whole season of Love is Blind. I'm so happy to have all of you here, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye.
Roxy says we're gonna talk about it.